All right, we'll go ahead and get started. First thing I'll do is just talk about last week, having the bye, having not played. I think it came at a good time. We were a little bit banged up coming off the Temple game, and we were able to get some young men in our program as healthy as they could be, being at the end of October. But really did a nice job and have been doing a really outstanding job so far. Our student athletes have in the classroom. Again, gave us an opportunity to get some guys as healthy and as fresh as they could be, and then we game planned South Florida and had a couple of practices in preparation for the game this Saturday. Coming off the game against Temple, again, I thought we did some things in all three phases that we can build off of. One thing I did not mention after the game, I thought our offense, we've talked in the past about wanting to get first downs and controlling the ball for 43 minutes. In my 7 years here total, and certainly somebody can call me on this and actually look it up, but I don't remember ever having the ball here at the University of Houston in the last 7 seasons, time of possession in a game for 43 minutes. So it was good to see. I thought we were very productive on offense. Did not turn the ball over. We created 4 turnovers defensively, and I thought our special teams played a solid game. So moving forward, great challenge, again, opportunity to go on the road against a well-coached, athletic, fast team in South Florida. And as usual, regardless of the opponent, we feel like it'll be about us in the execution that we try to be successful at in all 3 phases. We got to do a great job taking care of the football. South Florida's recovered 12 fumbles already this season, and we got to continue to try to force turnovers on defense. I thought Temple going into the game had done a nice job of creating big plays so far this season, and I thought they did a nice job in that area against our defense last Friday night. So it's something we got to continue to work on. That's been a point of emphasis this season defensively, along with tackling, is eliminating the big plays, and that's something we got to get back to here to be successful against South Florida. Any questions?
Tony, last year I don't think you had seen much film on Mike White. Now it looks like they could be going in another direction. How do you prepare now for, I guess, either a quarterback you've seen or, again, maybe another quarterback you haven't seen?
Well, you're exactly right. I think Mike White's first collegiate start was against us last season, and did a great job in that game. Went up and down the field, scored a bunch of points. I want to say coming into that game last year, they had struggled a little bit offensively, and I think he sparked them. And again, so now we've got video on him and Stephen Bench, and Stephen's played in a couple games this year, played almost the entire second half last week, and we'll prepare for both quarterbacks. I think they're multiple offensively. Marlon Mack, for being a true freshman and rushing for right around 800 yards, certainly doesn't look like a true freshman. Runs extremely well, got great vision, runs hard, and has great ball security. So, and then Andre Davis is not the only receiver they've got. They've got 4 or 5 young men that they can throw it to. So again, we'll prepare for both quarterbacks, but I agree with the way you phrased the question. We do have more video now on Mike, having played in their games this season.
Coach, you mentioned Andre Davis. Do you guys have a certain plan that you're planning to implement, or you're going to play him straight up?
We do have a plan. It's that type of question. I'm not going to divulge what the plan is. We've faced programs this season so far that have been more balanced at the wide receiver position. We've faced a couple programs this year that we felt like had one key guy that was either very, very dynamic for them, or that they like to target quite often. Again, I think South Florida is deeper than just Andre, and he's certainly very, very talented, but they've got a number of weapons. Rodney Adams is their leading receiver so far this season. So, we do have a plan, and William Jackson, one of our starting corners, is going to miss the first half of the game due to the ejection he received for a targeting foul at the second half of the Temple game. So we've got a plan in place, and we'll certainly know where Andre is during the game.
Coach, you've been playing this, it looks like a 4-3
Well, it goes back to when we hired Coach Gibbs 2 years ago. I think a number of things, but when you talk about coaching, but I think part of coaching is tailoring what you do, whether it's offense, special teams, or defense, to the student athletes you have in your program. And we have 3 young men in our program that kind of fit that mold. Trevor Harris and Tyus Bowser being the other 2 besides Eric. Very athletic, very smart, very good football players. So how can we get them on the field at 6'2", 6'3", 230 to 240 pounds that run 4.5 in the 40? Are they linebackers? Are they defensive ends? Are they in between that? So we really designed our defense with them in mind, and we call that position a rush end. So again, I don't remember your exact terms. It looks like a 4-3, but feels like a 3-4, might have been what you said. And we play both, and we're able to get into a 3-man front or a 4-man front without substituting. And we felt like that was important with a lot of the offenses we face that go no huddle, go hurry up tempo. And Coach Gibbs is able to make his calls and not have to continue running guys in and off the field. And the second part of that is then the opposing offense, while the same 11 young men are on the field, don't necessarily know if we're going to be in a 3-man or 4-man front on the next call.
Hey, Coach, what's the status of Donald Gage for the game upcoming? Is he medically cleared, or do you plan on putting him into the wide receiver rotation this week? Or what's the status?
Donald Gage hurt his knee last spring, and last week he was cleared to resume participation in football. And what we're certainly not going to do is just throw a young man out in a game who is not, we feel like, not ready physically. So on Sunday he practiced with the receivers with our offense for somewhere around 25-30 minutes, and we're going to ease him in back into the progression. He's been rehabbing the knee injury now for 6, 7, 8, 9 months, and just because he's cleared medically doesn't mean, well, he can go out there and cut full speed and catch balls and take a hit and block and play 60 snaps for us. So we're going to ease him in practice. I think a realistic goal for him in our minds would be possibly seeing playing time after our next bye. So we've got a game this week, a game the following week, then a bye week. So looking at 3.5, 4 weeks from now. At that point, I believe, if my math is right, we have 3 regular season games remaining. So I think that's a realistic goal for him.
Is there, I guess it's a red shirt last year?
Yeah, Donald redshirted last year, so he doesn't have the ability to get a 6th year at this point or get this year back. So if he can play himself into what we feel like is game shape, and he feels confident, and then he could work himself back in the rotation this season, even if it meant only playing 2 or 3 or 4 games.
You had mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, the Memphis
Bless you.
game, I think there was only 2 penalties that weren't pre-snap, and then I guess this last game against Temple, you had 10 penalties. Has there been a common denominator, or why maybe the penalties have been such this year in terms of a little bit more than usual?
Well, it's been up and down, and when you say more than usual, I think as you look at the teams in our league, it's a penalized league. I think we had well too many holding calls against Temple, and I think Kenneth Farrell probably would have had close to 200 yards rushing had we not had a couple holding calls bring the plays back. So again, a lot of that was technique. And again, certainly playing against an active defense and an active front, but things we got to clean up. We want to get more consistent to how we were against Memphis when we had 3 penalties, and all 3 of those penalties were during the play. None of the 3 were prior to the snap or after the play ended. So we've got to get back to that. That will be very, very critical in this game.
Coach, you guys had a really good rushing game, like you mentioned in the last game. Cincinnati ran a lot of yards on South Florida last week. Do you feel like that's a part of the game that you're just waiting to see some things on film that you kind of attacking that?
Well, we've got to be balanced, and we've got to be able to throw it. We've got to be able to run it. I thought we were balanced against Temple. I thought Greg Ward throwing the football certainly was efficient, completed 88% of the passes, and you know, we've got to get first downs. So, and I think up to this point, I thought our game against Temple was the best we had done offensively on 1st and 10, not getting negative plays and getting us into 3rd down and manageable distances. So we've got to be able to run the football. We've got to be able to be as balanced as we can. And I think our tempo along those same lines is something that should be important this week as well.
Now that we're a little bit past halfway point in the season, do you feel like the team is in a place where you thought it would be at the beginning of the season?
You know, I think coming off the last couple games, I think we've definitely seen improvement. I think we've cleaned some things up. I think we're moving the football better offensively. You know, it's you never get satisfied as a coach, and I think that would go true. That would hold true for all the young men in our program. You know, it's not to use the phrase, what have you done for me lately, but it's kind of how have you played lately would probably be the better way to look at it. And we got a big challenge this week, you know, so I think you look back and you know, I think by playing well, you're able to build some confidence. Again, I think we played well against Temple and did the things that we talked about going into that game in terms of not turning the ball over on offense, creating turnovers on defense, and in field position. And then again, I thought we had some great individual performances. We really did not have a drop pass in that game. So we've got some guys playing with more confidence. We got some young men making plays. And I think, you know, if you can continue that, I think your confidence continues to grow. I like where we're at right now. I like the health coming off the bye week. But again, we got to get on an airplane Friday, go down to a hostile environment, play a team that you know, is very athletic, and they'll be excited to play us. They were last year. I mean, it was a great football game last year here in Houston. So you know, it'll be a great challenge for us. But going back to what I said probably 15 minutes ago, we got to really continue to focus this week in practice on the little things and what we feel like we need to do execution-wise to give us a chance to be successful Saturday. Yes.
How much have you seen Greg Ward grow in the last couple weeks since becoming the starter, not just during the game, but like in practice?
No, it's a good question. You know, I asked our head trainer, Doc O'Shea, that. He's still 5'10 and a half, so he hasn't grown much. But I think he's continued to gain confidence, you know, and I think I said this prior to the Memphis game. I mean, the more he plays, the more comfortable he'll become, and in really limited amount of practice. I thought we saw that from the first game he started in Memphis to game 2 against Temple. I mean, really made great decisions, and there were times in the game when on the headset we questioned a decision, and on the video we questioned a decision, and then when we talked to Greg about it, he gave a great answer, really a veteran answer in terms of why he threw it to this teammate and not this teammate. And every question we asked him, he had a great answer for, and that's great to see. And again, just 2, 3, 4 weeks of practicing exclusively at the quarterback position. So the more he plays, the more comfortable he'll get. I think people certainly take for granted how much goes into playing that position in terms of when the play is over, getting the personnel, the formation, the motion, and the play signaled in from the sideline, having to tell the offensive line what they're doing, having to signal out to receivers what they're doing, have to look over next to them to the running back or running backs, tell them where to line up and what they've got on that play, and then take a deep breath, look out and see what the 11 young men across the formation are doing, so he can anticipate if he needs to change the play, if he needs to hand it off, if he needs to throw it, if he's going to keep it. And then when he snaps the ball, he's got about 2 seconds to make that decision. And then when that play's over, do that same thing again. So, you know, the more he plays, the more comfortable he's getting. And you know, again, I'm proud of the way he's prepared each week. And I think it's been evident, certainly in this last game, his preparation has really equaled the success he had.
Greg Ward, he was a guy, he came in, a lot of people, they said he threw 40 touchdowns, 400 receptions, yeah, but he's only 5'10".
No, it did not. And again, I think, one thing about him is he's a winner, he's a leader, he's got great poise, and, I go back to his recruitment. I guess whether he was highly recruited or not, it could be debatable. He had multiple scholarship offers. I don't know that any of the offers initially were at the quarterback position. Again, I've been candid and said we were recruiting him initially to play defense, to play corner for us, and then that kind of evolved into receiver, and then when he got here, wanted an opportunity to play quarterback initially. So it's kind of come full circle. And but to answer your specific question, is the success he's had in his first 2 starts surprised me? No, not. And again, now I've been around him for a few years too, and I've gotten to know him not just through recruiting, but now he's been our program 2 years. So I've known him now for over 3 years, and getting to know him to this point, the way he's performed and the success he's had does not surprise me.
And I know, y'all used to get him on the field so many different ways last year. Was there a moment where you saw, like, okay, I can't keep this guy off the field?
Not really.
Tony, I think after when you mentioned as far as how much Landon Roberts had played, I don't know if that was a good gauge, but what's the plan kind of working with him now that he's taking over for Derek, or taking over that middle linebacker?
Well, and when you talk about our linebacking crew right now, there's 4, 5, 6 young men that really have a chance to get on the field for us. Stephen Taylor is a young man that's I don't know if proven's the right word, but he's certainly played a bunch, and he's was the conference player of the week after the Temple game based on him forcing that fumble and recovering it in the end zone. But he's been solid. Ephraim Oliphant, young man's played a lot of football here the last couple of years. And then after those, with the loss of Derek, Landon Roberts, Matthew Adams, true freshman from Hightower, DeJuan Hines from Decaney, who came in as a quarterback, moved to receiver, and now has been at linebacker for the last year or so. Caleb Tucker, who's a redshirt freshman out of Louisiana. So we've got some depth, and I think Stephen Taylor and Ephraim are the more proven young men at linebacker that you'll see quite a bit of. And if we're in base defense, both Landon and Matthew Adams will see time on the field. If we're in nickel, it'll just be Stephen Taylor and Ephraim.
Are you addressing to the players at all waning attendance at home games? Like, are you trying to keep them high, or are you just trying to focus their attention completely out of that?
Haven't mentioned it nor thought about it.
Tell us a little more about Stephen Taylor. He's really came onto the scene this year, winning the honors last week. Tell us a little about him and what he's done.
Well, he's a young man we talk about all the time because it really speaks to recruiting the state of Texas. And he's a young man that really was under the radar as a junior. Did grow, to go back and reference your Greg Ward question, did grow over the course of the summer going into his senior year, grew about 2 inches, gained about 10 or 15 pounds, and just had a phenomenal senior season. So he was a young man that Coach Spavital found out about really around Thanksgiving into December after his senior season. And he was one of those young men that when you talk to high school coaches in the Dallas area, kept saying, "Hey, have you seen the Stephen Taylor kid?" And went over, did our research, really got a relationship with him in a short amount of time. Again, not a very, very highly recruited young man due to really his junior year, and has been great for us. Redshirted as a freshman a couple of years ago, and again continued to grow, put on weight, and is doing a great job. So he's I think it speaks volumes to the state of Texas, where there's young men like that for whatever reason blossom late in terms of their high school careers, and you're able to get for what's going to be for us a 4-year starter at linebacker.
Tony, is that common? I can't think of, there's one other guy that we talked about recently that was in that similar boat where maybe didn't get a lot of attention until after his senior season. I don't know if it was Spencer or somebody like that, but then you they turn out to be a productive player or a four-year starter. Does that happen a lot, or do you find those uncovered gems every now and then?
Well, I think when you ask me, does it happen a lot? I think it happens probably more in the state of Texas than other places. You know, you look, you'll be watching films or other film of other programs, or you'll see. I'm just again, no disrespect, but you'll see sometimes an FCS school that's got an All-American or an early draft pick, and you say, wow, you know, how did this young man go there, or you know, it might have been, and I'm just throwing this out, Joe, it might have been Devontae Davis at UNLV that we were talking about. I don't know, from North Shore. But, you know, it's, when you're talking about the greater Houston area and in the city of Texas, I mean, I say the state of Texas and the greater Houston area, and the quantity of high school football players, you know, there are mistakes made. There are mistakes at times where programs sign a young man and maybe, you know, stretched on him a little bit, and he doesn't turn out to be have the career you had thought or had hoped. And then there's mistakes where you know, you look at not putting in a mistake category, but you look at Howard Wilson, who's a linebacker at DeSoto, and we projected him to be corner, and you know, I think he's going to have a chance to have a phenomenal career in our program playing corner at 6'1", 180 pounds. So you know, I think in this state, with the quantity of high school football players, the quality of the coaching, I think you can find young men where I know people in recruiting circles always, I get this every summer, we only have X amount of commitments, what are they doing at Houston? They must not be working at it, they must not be recruiting. And this is a state where you can take your time at some positions and find some young men late that end up being in the Stephen Taylor, Devontae Davis at UNLV, Howard Wilson mold that you're going to be extremely, extremely excited about.
A lot of attention gets paid to the defense for forcing turnovers, but no turnovers by the offense against Temple. You know, how encouraging is that? And obviously that plays in the time today.
Well, and that's, you know, I appreciate you asking that question, because I think I said this after the game, not turning the ball over against Temple, which was one of the top defenses in the nation at creating turnovers, was as big as creating those 4 turnovers. And in our last 2 games, both of which we've won, defensively we've created 9 turnovers, and offensively we've turned it over twice, and both came in that Memphis game. So you know, when you're able to do that, that's regardless of program, that's a formula for winning, and it works hand in hand. You know, the Memphis game, we did turn it over a 3rd time on special teams, so we were +2. We got 5 turnovers. We turned it over 3 times total, but we were 3-3 until the last 3 minutes of the game, where defensively we created the 4th and 5th turnovers. So, you know, again, our offense taking care of the football has been a priority and needs to continue to be a priority. All right, thank you.